Hi again. I am really tired. I haven't taken a shower yet, but my desk is full of robots, and so it's time to do some reviews. And I'm not actually going to do a review off for this first one. It's Bruticus, Cybertron Bruticus, who I got about 2 weeks ago, I think, and who I have some fairly strong opinions about. So I just wanted to go over the various components and what they become. Now, I pre-ordered Bruticus pretty much as soon as it was available, because the moment I heard that the second Transformers game was going to have Bruticus and they were going to make a toy out of it, I was like, I've got to get this. This Bruticus is awesome. Let me go ahead and go through everything. I'm going to do this in the order that you need to make the limbs. So we'll start with Brawl. This is, by the way, of course, the retail Bruticus, so everybody's in very bright colors. I had kind of wanted to get the SDCC version, and then I looked at it and I was like, you know what, it's very washed out. I mean, the colors may be accurate to the game, but it really doesn't look all that good. So I went with this one, and I'm fine with the way the colors are. So this is Brawl. The first thing you might notice is he's very narrow, he's very vertical. And for being a dude named Brawl who turns into a tank, he's not particularly buff. That's about the only problem I really have with him, I think. Other than the fact that he doesn't stand up very well. His toes go up, so they don't really hold him in place, and he doesn't have any heels to speak of. So he's slightly back heavy because he's got the cannons, which look very cool, I should add. You can kind of do this and give him a little bit of over-the-shoulder cannon action, which is neat. And I like all the figures, he does actually come with a gun, which is cool. Also cool is what you can do with the guns. It's actually probably my most favorite part of this whole set. Transforming him is not particularly difficult. Specifically, I like the way that his arms go, because you take and fold them up, and then it makes this, like, tracks looking thing. You kind of look at it and you expect his arms to just go down to his sides, but they don't. This video is probably going to be like half an hour long. The one problem I do have with this transformation is his head, specifically going into robot mode, because it just sort of goes down, and there's no real easy way to get it back out again. So that's kind of a pain. You do actually have to do his legs first, because otherwise they get in the way. There we go. And you got this weird doodad that just kind of locks over the back of it, and you move the socket out of the way. So Brawl turns into this hover tank. Of course, these are all, you know, on Cybertron, so there's Cybertronian modes. My one complaint about this tank is that there's no, like, wheels or anything, so he's kind of like FOC Shockwave, he just sort of sits there. But he does have some cannon swivel action. This thing goes all over the place, and his gun can be seated between the barrels, just in case you need some more firepower. But it looks cool. It's a very pleasing shape. I like that he's sort of diamond shaped. He's kind of a hexagonal. He's not bad. Sockets and pegs is how this goes together, and it's very the pegs, which you'll see on Onslaught, are very reminiscent of the power core combiners, except that they don't use magnets. I'll talk a little bit about that later. Brawl actually has the most complex limb transformation out of any of them, because you have to do a whole bunch of wacky stuff to get him aligned properly. And let's see if I can even remember how to do this, because the turret is actually the toe, and then you pull his arms back and you lock them into the back of the foot, and you turn the guns, and supposedly you lock those into the wacky doodad at the top. So that is green foot. It's kind of weird. 1 down, 4 to go. So next is Swindle. I'm not gonna make a big production out of this. Swindle is the biggest disappointment out of this whole thing. He exemplifies what's wrong with this set of Combaticons, which is that they are very thin, they are very hollow, they are very light. If you look at his back, there is absolutely nothing under there. He looks and feels like a knockoff. It doesn't help that he's bright yellow. I've had some actual knockoffs that are this color and maybe slightly thinner as far as plastic goes, but I really hate this guy. I dislike him very much, and it doesn't help that I don't like his design. I mean, I can kind of see this being Swindle, but it doesn't work. And he doesn't turn into a Jeep so much as just some sort of car dune buggy thing. And also doesn't help that I detest his transformation. It's also very knockoffy. You take and flip his body around, you stick his legs together. His legs are 2 parts, because then you flip his feet down. That's it. Half of his body mass is transformed in 2 steps. It's ridiculous. And then you take and flip his head down, which is a lot harder than you'd think it is. I need to take and shave some of this plastic off so I can actually do it, because it doesn't ever want to go down, and I'm probably going to break it one of these days. Oh my god. You can't even like turn his head sideways or anything. You just have to force it until it goes down. Alright, so after you get his head down, then you take and tuck the body up using the knee joints. You flip his little bumper shoulder pads around. Oh, you flip around his pipes so that they make you not see the hands, I guess. Then you connect the inside of the wrist to his hips, and then you flip the hood up, and that's it. It's very underwhelming, very disappointing, and ever so slightly ridiculous to do. And furthermore, while you're messing around with the hood, his arms are likely going to pop out of their place. So then you take these 2 little itty-bitty plastic tabs, you can't even see them really, and you fit them into a slot here, and it takes so much forcing that this is a toy that will break eventually. It's just a matter of time. I honestly cannot get him transformed properly, and I hate everything about him. Worse than that, and say I'm not even gonna do it right now, because to get him into foot mode, you actually have to transform him back into a robot. You have to pull this out. You flip his feet up, and he has these enormous pieces of plastic here that are heels. They're very garish in his robot mode. I mean, they very much stand out, but they are good counterbalance for Bruticus at least. But you take and flip the hood up, and then to get the socket out, you kind of rotate it forward. I think you're supposed to peg him together, and again, I can't do it. The first time that I actually got him in there and then transformed him back into a robot, it was creating stress points on the plastic. This is a really terrible design. I cannot overstate this fact. I also can't get them in there, so I just sort of leave him like that. Alright, on to Onslaught. Onslaught has some issues. He's kind of in the middle as far as what I like. I do like his robot mode. He's very military looking. He's pretty buff. He's got a good color scheme. His weapon is a little ridiculous, but there's a reason for that. My only complaint would be that his arms are very spindly, at least when compared to his feet, which are nice and stompy. But then you start transforming him, and his vehicle mode is really stupid. Here's the rundown. Get on your knees, bend back as far as you can, and cover your head with your hands like that, and then pretend you're a car. That's what he does. And the worst part is you can see the Bruticus head. There's absolutely nothing that hides things. So you do that, and you just keep the Bruticus head flipped around, and somehow, that's not actually a vehicle with a head. And I mean, it wouldn't even be that bad, except that his hands don't peg together. It's like, why would you leave that loose? It's silly. Now, the one thing I do actually like about him is, like I showed you just now, he does come with the Bruticus head attached. He also has the pelvic guard thing as part of his transformation, actually. It helps hold the 2 parts of his, there we go, of his car mode together a bit. I don't actually know what I'm doing at this point. Yeah, because that's supposed to go down there somehow. Well, okay, we're just gonna stop there. And so this is more or less his vehicle mode, and it's terrible. Look at there's nothing in between his legs. It's ridiculous. The hands are actually supposed to be covered up by putting his weapon on top, like this, which looks slightly less terrible. It's kind of difficult to do, and I'm going to be transforming him into the torso just right now anyways, so won't worry about that. But to go into the torso, again, you basically just go back to robot mode, and then you put all the stuff in place. Bruticus is apparently Cornholio. The weird thing is you take and flip his hands around and attach them to these pegs here, and it's sometimes hard to do because there's a ball joint right next to a very, very tight ratcheting joint, and they have a tendency to just pop out a joint when you're trying to do that. So usually I just take and pop the arm off and move the ratchet manually. Oh, that time it worked. Awesome. I'm kind of surprised. Alright, and then you flip these up. So he's got some shoulder spikes, which is pretty cool. Alright, now, that thing I was talking about earlier with the sockets. Another big problem with this setup. This socket is not spring-loaded. It is just plastic. And you take this square peg, and you just shove it right in there. Whoop. Sometimes. It's not particularly difficult to do, but it's like, again, this is causing stress points in the plastic. This is another thing that will break eventually. But there we go. 3/5 of a Bruticus. Okay, I will do Vortex next. Nobody cares about Vortex. I don't, anyways. But to be honest, I kind of like the way he looks. He's got this sort of Roman Centurion skirt, which is cool. I don't like his color scheme. Red and purple is just kind of But, and like many copter formers, he got massively screwed when it comes to the blades. They just stick out of his arm. It's like, you know, they make a copter former, and it's like, all right, we got the robot. Oh, wait a second, we're forgetting something. Let's just stick it somewhere. At least it didn't show up on his back like they usually do. But he's not bad. He's like Brawl. He's not bad. And he does have these cool gun blades. His transformation is a good bit more fun. He has this weird thing where his head is on a separate thing that goes up into the tail. And the skirt is hinged, and I'm kind of not really sure why. I don't think it actually like has to be moved out of the way or anything. Also, interestingly, in one of his feet, there is a gun, which is, it just kind of hangs out there, and you flip it out so it comes out of the nose cone. I think that's actually pretty cool. His arms are the hard part. He's got joints on his joints. My God, he's got a shoulder flap here, and then he's got a shoulder ball joint, he's got a swivel joint, he's got an elbow joint, and you kind of just have to sort of guess. Usually I can get one of them in place. It helps to look at the panels to get everything aligned properly, but usually I end up getting one in place and then very carefully studying it so I can figure out how to do the other one. And then magic happens and somehow you get a transform. Blades split, which is really kind of terrifying to do. There we go. This fantastic, stubby little, very angular helicopter thing, and it's like, why do they have helicopters on Cybertron? Does it have an atmosphere? Do they even know how helicopters work? I don't think they do. But he's not bad. Again, like Brawl, not bad at all. I think I like his helicopter mode more than his robot mode. Transformation limb is pretty easy. You take and fold back the tail. Actually, I don't think you have to pull back the tail. You just pull down the socket. But the tail does fold back so you can get a better grip on it. It's less of a problem with him than with Blastoff. And then the spot where his gun comes out is where the hand comes out. Oh yeah, and extendo body. And everybody has an arm transform, which is very cool. And they all have it set up so that you can use them as either arm. In Vortex's case, the thumb can be placed on either side of the hand, which I think is pretty cool. Now, the one problem with his hand is that it's very, very small, especially when compared to the size of the helicopter cockpit. So Bruticus's right arm it seems a little small, but he does have a swivel right there, which is nice. Not as good as Blastoff's swivel. I'll get to that. So there's the right arm of Bruticus. And last but certainly not least, there's a reason I saved him for last. It's Blastoff. Blastoff is incredible. He is absolutely far and away my most favorite of these 5 guys, to the point where I like him more than some other non-Combaticon toys. Look at how awesome he looks. He's got these silver shoulder pads that are just fantastic. He's got the whole shuttle front thing going down his front there. He's got a pair of guns. He's got some nicely angular feet. I really like his design. I like his transformation. I like his vehicle mode. And I really like his limb transformation, believe it or not. I mean, that's not something you usually go for with combiners, but it's like, yeah, he's a really cool arm. His shoulders have this very neat thing. Take and tuck the arm up into it, and if you get it just right, there, you have an extra fin there. Also, it gives him an extra peg for weapon options, which is cool because like Brawl has holes on his legs, but they go under the body of the tank. They're supposed to be for when you've got him in hand mode, I think. I'm not actually sure because he's also got basically when he's a hand, I believe Bruticus has 2 holes there for weapons, so I'm really not sure what's up with that. The one complaint that I would have about Blastoff is that his legs are handled very uninterestingly. You just sort of fold them up. It's like, well, can't win them all, I guess. But beyond that, awesome Cybertronian space shuttle. Again, you know, he's like FOC Shockwave. He doesn't do anything, but he looks so cool. I love the yellow highlights up here. I love how you get him into this mode, feet aside. This is fantastic, and he doesn't feel, despite the fact that yeah, he is a little bit hollow up in the shoulder area, he doesn't feel it. His front especially is very weighty. So let's go ahead and go straight to limb. This is the one spot where he fumbles a little bit, and it's probably just this figure. The hand parts are a little bit loose. So it's kind of a pain getting them into place. Okay, come on. Take and unfold his legs to get the hands out. Strangely, you only do it at a 90-degree angle, like this. Which is kind of weird, but it works. But yeah, like most of the others, Blastoff has 2 thumbs, Vortex has the opposable thumb, Swindle actually has 2 entire hands, and Brawl, I forgot to mention, his feet are actually the thumbs. Which is, I think is really awesome. So you can just use whichever one you want. So he's like Blastoff that way. And you have a very nice, very long arm. And the best part is, this is the swivel I was talking about. He has a swivel. This does not do anything in his robot mode. It is just to give the arm articulation. So you get some very cool articulation out of this arm. Now we're not done yet. It's not time to see Bruticus. Remember what I said about the weapons? You combine the weapons. This is the best thing. This is why Onslaught's gun looks so ridiculous, and it's hollow, and it's kind of silly. Swindle's gun goes on the back. There are numerous ways to do this, but this is how you're supposed to do it for Bruticus anyway. You take and stick Brawl's weapon into the barrel of Swindle's gun, and there's a little tiny cutout there to hold it. And then, oh, I forget what you're supposed to do, honestly. Yeah, Blastoff's guns go like this, which is weird because they don't really, there's nothing holding them in place. And then you put, whoa, Vortex's gun blades on the end. And that is, I actually don't remember what it's called. It's like the Sonic gun or something. The funny thing about this gun, though, is that it's so long that Bruticus cannot hold it like in a normal straight arm down position, unless he's standing on the edge of something, because it's actually longer than his legs. Which is why I have a tendency to do something else with it. Well, it all comes down to Blastoff's weapons have pegs at 90 degrees from each other, so you can use them on the sides of stuff. I'm gonna do it more like that. So now it's got some body to it. It's not quite as long. It still looks cool. There is Ruination, I'll talk more about him in a bit, has a completely separate configuration for his weapons. That's still almost too long. Alright, here's what we've been waiting for. It's Bruticus, motherfuckers. Oh my god. Just the whole idea that they would be making a combiner, a remake of a G1 combiner using deluxes. It's like, oh my god. He's very large. His arms, like I said, are extremely long, which is kind of weird. Blastoff doesn't look great. The hand looks a little It looks a little small, a little shrunken. The main thing, like my main complaint about Bruticus, because he's actually fairly heavy, despite how light Swindle feels, Bruticus is pretty nice and heavy. My main complaint is that they made Onslaught the same size as everybody else. And the way it used to be, you know, the middle guy was like probably a Voyager class, and the others were all scouts or something like that. But anyway, the middle guy was about twice the size of the rest of them. Onslaught's the same size as everybody else, so it helps make Bruticus look a little bit spindly. It makes his limbs look a little bit too large. I mean, the arms being too long, the feet are really wide. To be perfectly honest, I haven't got him looking this good since I got him. Brawl is pointed slightly that way, and the foot came out from the heel, but I don't care because that never pegs in properly. But one of the other main issues is that Onslaught has a tendency to like lean back. Let's see if he's doing it right now. Oh, you can't quite see it in the camera. No, I actually got him to stand up straight. This is the first time I've ever done this, and I'm kind of shocked. So you're actually seeing Bruticus at his best. My overall opinion is that this is a very cool toy, but it's not worth the pre-order price, which was about $20 a figure. Get it retail. It means you're going to have to hunt for all 5, and, you know, who knows how they're getting packaged. It could very well end up, you know, going into the store in a month, and all that's there is lots of Vortexes and Brawls. And it's like, well, it's the burden of the collector. So yeah, they are making a repaint and retool. It's going to be called Ruination, which was like a G2 or a, I think it was a Japanese show redub of Bruticus. My friend's got one. He's in like desert camo colors. But it's going to be Autobots. It's going to be the Wreckers. And other than Topspin and Twin Twist, I've never heard of any of the guys in it. But I'm okay with that, and despite the fact that I don't like any of the designs, given the fact that I've only ever heard of Topspin and Twin Twist, that means I don't care what they look like. And the colors are neat. It's mostly like white, blue, and orange, which is another homage to Ruination. And despite the fact that all the limbs are interchangeable, they show the pictures of him with the helicopter and the space shuttle as the legs. They switch the legs around. So when Ruination actually comes in, I'm going to go look for him at retail instead of pre-ordering him, and then I'll do a review off with Bruticus, and we'll see who the better combiner is. But sitting here now, looking at Bruticus over to my side, he's not bad. He could have been better, but he's not bad, and he's just really awesome.